Hi everyone, this is Dan, and this is it. This is the final issue of Kitty Pryde and Wolverine, issue number 6, by Chris Claremont and Alan Milgrom. And oh boy, does it end really well. So we return back to the action, and Wolverine has just finally appeared, and Kitty Pryde's about to get executed by Ogun, the Tengu ninja, as I kind of called him earlier. And it's pretty cool. So you get this kind of triumphant moment. Wolverine shows up. He's ready to save the day. They have a little flashback to issue 4 where he talks about how Ogun had met Miyamoto Musashi, which is kind of crazy, but kind of an interesting reference from Chris Claremont. And they go and they have a stare down to determine who is the better, right? And Ogun's like, "Nah, I got you, son." Huge turn it, right? So here's his famous quote: "I'm the best there is at what I do. Tonight that isn't good enough." So you think Wolverine's gonna save the day, and surprise, he just gets his ass handed to him. Like, oh, look at this, just kicked in the face, slashed in the hands, and just immediately realizes, like, yeah, I'm not as good as this guy. I gotta bounce. Second time he's had to pull the eject lever in this miniseries, and he's kind of lucky. Like, I like how there's a little bit of a twist here. Like, well, if he leaves, isn't Ogun just gonna kill Kitty Pryde? And Claremont uses the narration boxes to kind of explain why Ogun chases after Logan instead, and that is to kill the bigger fish. Meanwhile, Yukio and Kitty's dad arrives here to meet Mariko. And in the midst of all this, while they're explaining what happened in previous episodes, freaking Mr. Dumpling Shumai shows up again for another rematch. Here, Kitty Pryde kind of she's been drugged, and that's why she's having a hard time airwalking. But she kind of shows up and flies into the middle of the action. And Yukio takes advantage of that to get the jump on Mr. Dumpling. Let's see. So while this is going on, her dad's shocked at her showing her mutant powers. And Yukio just kicks the living crap out of Shumai, gives him the nut punch to get him out. And Kitty runs away to go help out Wolverine. And this is really interesting. Her dad yells at her like, "Hey, you don't have a chance." And this is kind of cool in that this series is in Japan, and it kind of takes away a lot of Chris kind of uses some tropes from Japanese movies of the time, and in the sense of honor and all that other stuff. Yeah, Wolfie's risking everything for me. I owe him the same chance. So she's drugged, but she's still gonna try and go help Wolverine. You get more really, you could tell Chris Claremont spent some time in Japan. So they go to a pachinko hall, and Wolverine gets tossed through a freaking window. The owner's about ready to pull a gun on him, like, "What are you doing, busting up my place?" I like how Ogun is like, weapons are illegal in our land, and this is true. Japan, weapons or handgun firearms are illegal. And he proceeds to kind of have fun with it, and Ogun's kind of shooting him. I like this. My claws are forged of the pure stuff. There's nothing they can't cut. And he jumps at Ogun. Ogun just fucking shoots him, provided I make contact. The action in this last issue is fantastic, especially if you consider it's an 80s comic. 80s comics weren't particularly known for having the most detailed and intense amounts of action, right? That was definitely more of a 90s thing. But man, dude, it's actually really good for an old comic. Yeah, it's pretty cool. He has to run away. He gets to an elevator. Ogun runs out of bullets and just messes with him. While he's in the elevator, Ogun cuts the elevator shaft cord. And he's kind of freaking make an escape. Just lots of crazy stuff going on. He makes it up to the top floor for a final showdown. We go back to the gang down here, and what is it? Kitty Pryde's dad is left, and he has like a really fascinating inner monologue. These are 4 very simple panels, right? Just a guy on a street, a guy thought bubbling to himself. But it kind of reveals a lot. And in one small section, a character that really didn't have a whole lot of development, and throughout the 5 issues you dislike a lot, ends up having like in just these 4 panels a great turnaround that you'll see at the end. Just really, really nice. Very, very good closeout that Chris Claremont did here with this character. And meanwhile, Kitty's using her airwalk ability, and she's really getting worn out because she's just trying to make it to the building where she saw Wolverine and Ogun. And she makes it to the ledge. She thinks it's Wolverine. Nope. It's Ogun, and he's still trying to either recruit her or kill her. Meanwhile, Wolverine shows up and he's like, "Damn it, girl! Why the hell did you follow me?" And this is pretty interesting right here. I'll read this because this is actually worth reading right here. The whole last, like, I really like hope more people check out this series, or I gotta go see if there's a trade. If there's a trade for this, I'm gonna put the link down below because this is totally worth grabbing a hold of. But this is really great. I'm facing reality, kitten. I couldn't beat Ogun when I first met. When we first met, I can't now. And then Kitty talks back, "I don't want to die, Logan. I thought I could face it when I first confronted Ogun, that I wouldn't be afraid, but I was lying to myself. I was so happy when you appeared, I thought I was saved." And then Wolverine's like, "I'm sorry." And it's pretty cool. So Ogun is pretty much still, kind of taunting Logan, and at the same time, telling Kitty, join me, and you can live. And you get the final showdown. And this is sick action, especially for an '80s comic. So Wolverine gets freaking shish kebabbed, and he uses it and freaking destroys his sword because he committed. And then you get into this crazy, crazy action scene where you get that final flashback to their eyes meeting and their wills challenging each other. And this is where it gets really sick, dude. He goes freaking berserk on him. It's so freaking awesome. This is awesome, dude. And then he just goes at him and freaking at him. He's freaking just freaking. He's coming, trying to use ninja knives to try to take him out. Wolverine's just tossing the knives. He punches him. He kicks him. He throws stars at him. And Wolverine's like, "Yeah, that doesn't do shit to me. Get ready, bro." Freaking grabs him by the scruff, smashes his claws right through his mask, and reveals him for who he is. Not a demon, just a man. Then you get a really kind of cool scene right here. Logan yells at her in Japanese to go like, here's your chance for revenge. Take the sword and finish him off. And then Kitty Pryde does and runs up to him, and she can't do it. She stops in the middle of it. And this is really interesting. So superheroes in this day era, one of the big things about them was, to be a superhero, you weren't supposed to be killing people, right? You would always kind of knock the bad guy out or something. And the X-Men were the same way. But in this case, Chris does a really interesting turn on this, in which here he's like, "Hey, I did that as a test just for you and for me to make sure that you were still you, that he had no influence over you. You're not a murderer. You're still an X-Men." And then this is really cool. He doesn't give up. He comes after him. And then this is the great action scene that the cover calls over. He yells at her face, and they just freaking go right through her at each other. But he's got adamantium bones. He doesn't. And so it was, if it was human to human, it would have been a tie. But because it's Wolverine, he wins. You get a lot of like final dialogue right here with Wolverine kind of talking about this, almost having a Hamlet moment when he reflects on Ogun and what it meant to him. Kind of interesting that he calls, like, "I loved him like a son," and I was like, wouldn't Wolverine be technically older than him? Little bit of a disconnect or a plot hole right here, but still interesting. And then you get the final resolution. He breaks the mask and just pours the remains on Ogun, and they walk away. Then you get a happy ending. So it turns out Kitty Pryde's dad had surrendered to the authorities. He admitted all of his crimes that he had done, and and he just asks forgiveness for his daughter, and his daughter, forgives him for it. And it's a great moment for this character that you kind of hate as kind of like a weasel and a loser for most of this miniseries, but he takes personal responsibility for it. Just great character development right there. Yukio runs off because she can't stand Mariko. Then they have some talks about thinking back about the whole situation. Then Mariko kind of talks to Wolverine and is like, okay, how is Kitty Pryde gonna recover from all this stuff that just happened? Wolverine's kind of like, she'll be fine. Yeah, man, 6 issues. I was totally surprised when I was looking at back issues. They weren't that expensive, so I was like, maybe they're not that good. But you know what? Nah, they're freaking amazing. I'm gonna see if I can find a trade. If not, I'll just put links up. For like my local back issue store, and put them down below for all of you guys, because this is a miniseries that's worth collecting, at least in my opinion. It's really fun, and definitely an enjoyable read. Anyhow, that's it for this miniseries. Let me know if you like this video. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. If you got any comments on this finale right here, let me know down below. And I will see you next time.